Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Friday, November 16th. This is Gina Palma. Over the last 2 weeks, we've had no precipitation over the southern and western half of the Great Basin, with all the storms targeted into the north. However, even the precipitation we have seen in Idaho and Wyoming and northern Utah has been below normal. Over the last 72 hours, we've seen no new snowfall across the Great Basin, and the snowpack remains with snow generally across central Idaho into eastern Idaho and Wyoming and parts of central and northern Utah. However, again, this snowpack is still well below normal for the time of year, and we have no snowfall at any elevation in the Sierra Nevada mountains. The satellite loop from this morning shows a cold front dropping south into the northern Rockies and clipping the northern side of the Great Basin. This will continue to push south over the next couple of days. Currently, dry conditions are in effect across the Great Basin with some clouds over central Idaho into western Wyoming. Now looking at the forecast for later this afternoon and tonight. As the cold front drops south from the northern Rockies, this will increase precipitation chances for parts of southern and eastern Idaho into Wyoming and northern Utah and possibly far northeast Nevada. We will also see much colder temperatures as this cold front drops south and some breezier west to northwest winds. Therefore, dispersion will improve over southern Idaho into northern Utah and southwest Wyoming later today, however still remain quite poor over the rest of the Great Basin. Looking at the transport winds, again today as that front moves through, winds will pick up some gusts around 30 miles per hour over parts of Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Utah, especially in the higher elevations, with lighter winds elsewhere across the basin. Mixing heights will remain moderate, generally over the eastern half of the area, and quite low over the western half. As we move into Saturday, this cold front plunges into southern areas of the Great Basin. However, much drier air will be moving in behind it, with a shift to more northerly winds and cooler temperatures in the north and eastern side of the Great Basin. Dispersion will remain elevated over the higher terrain of Utah and remain poor elsewhere. If we look at the transport winds, we still have some breezy north winds over the higher terrain of Utah on Saturday, with lighter winds elsewhere across the region. And then mixing heights will remain moderate or even moderate to high over parts of the higher terrain of Utah, and then still low over the western side of the Great Basin. On Sunday, a ridge of high pressure rebuilds across the area, bringing lighter wind flow, warming temperatures, and continued dry weather. We will have some good dispersion over southern areas of the basin that are still seeing some effects of the cold front with north to northeast winds, and poor dispersion elsewhere further north. Looking at the transport winds, you can see the north to northeast winds, again breezy over southern areas of the Great Basin on Sunday and lighter elsewhere. And mixing heights will remain quite high over the Arizona Strip and southern Utah, but much lower as you move further north. Looking at the clearing index for Utah for the next few days, will remain moderate over the higher terrain of Utah today, with lower clearing indices in the valleys, as those inversions remain in place before that cold front moves through. As we move through Saturday, we will see improving conditions with the clearing index, but then on Sunday, once the cold front moves into the south, we will see much lower clearing indices over the northern two-thirds of Utah, and still a little bit higher in the far south with those breezy north to northeast winds. Precipitation, we will see some light precipitation over parts of Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Utah as that cold front drops south, but again, nothing overly heavy, as much of the heavier precipitation will be over Montana and into eastern and central areas of Wyoming. If we go into the early part of next week, we still have a ridge of high pressure dominating most areas. We do see a deeper trough of low pressure off the west coast, which will start to impact the Great Basin towards the middle of the week. We may see some cloud cover over western and southern areas on Monday, but still dry conditions and poor dispersion in most areas with the exception of the far south. On Tuesday, the trough of low pressure gets a little bit closer to the west coast, so we will see dispersion start to improve a little bit on Tuesday in the far western areas, but still dry conditions and likely increasing some cloud cover in the west. However, as we move into Wednesday, we will see that trough start to influence the Great Basin with an increase in winds, and also maybe even some precipitation or cloud cover over the northern half of the area. But you can see as the winds increase, the dispersion also increases over much of Nevada, the Arizona Strip, and western Utah. This will continue on Thursday as that system really starts to move in, so we will see decreasing temperatures, still breezy winds with good dispersion, and some chances for rainfall or snowfall over the northern areas of the Great Basin. Again, with these winds shifting to the west or southwest, we will potentially see some smoke move across the Great Basin depending on the continued activity of wildfires in California. Precipitation, and this is from Tuesday morning through Thursday morning, still mainly impacting California, so much needed dry areas, we'll be seeing some precipitation in Northern California as we go towards the middle of the week. It won't quite move into the western areas of the Great Basin yet, but we will start to see some lighter precipitation through Thanksgiving. Looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, still looks like warm conditions in the north with near normal temperatures in the south. However, we will see a transition starting around Thanksgiving and continuing into the end of November, where we will see a better chance of some wet weather across the region. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Monday for the latest updates.